Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. All right. I noticed that I really Peter dislike driving much more so than I had thought. And the way this will manifest is that I'm here in Taiwan. Obviously, no need to get behind the wheel. We got really good public transportation. It's very walkable. You know what's really funny is that back home in Phoenix, sometimes I need to stop to ask for directions, right? I'm in downtown Phoenix. I pull into, I'm walking, and I pull into a local restaurant or something to ask for directions, and the people there are like, "Are you crazy for walking there?" It might be like a half mile away. And here in Taiwan, you could ask for walking directions for something that's 3 miles away, and people will mention it as if it were next door, right? And that's how walkable it is here in Taiwan. Ditto with a really good public transportation. We got a train system for the city, and then if you want to go outside of Taipei, there's a supersonic train called the high speed rail, and you can't even fly domestically here in Taiwan because of everything's so convenient with that high speed rail. When you get to the airport here in Taiwan, you go through customs before you even see any gates because all of the flights are international. Anyway, I noticed that without having to drive every day, a lot of background stress has disappeared. Now, do I still run into everyday stress? Of course I do. This morning I had a difficult time with connecting my cell phone. I had forgotten to pay the phone bill before I left, and I realized that over here it's almost impossible to deal with that. I'll probably have to go buy a prepaid phone here in Taiwan. One of my roommates was helping me research that. And then I had I'm teaching a remote class. I almost couldn't log in. I had to use a different program, and I had to tell the students and all of that, which was fine. These are the kinds of stresses that can happen back home too, right? Back home, you could sometimes get your phone turned off because you forgot to pay the bill, right? You could sometimes have technology snafus. You could similarly have to tell your students that you have to use a different software. That could happen in person as well. You could get to the classroom and realize the software isn't working, right? But I find that all of these day-to-day stresses don't sit on top of the background stress level that comes with driving, and it becomes a lot easier to do. It's hard for me to explain. Like, and then Phoenix, obviously, the weather is brutal over there. It's really funny because right now I'm recording this in Taipei. It's 80, 90 degrees. And when I tell people I'm so glad to get out of the heat in Phoenix, people think I have three heads because to them, this is bad weather, right? Or to the local people here in Taiwan, at least, right? And again, bad weather is one of those things that adds a background level of stress. So think of it this way, right? Imagine, for example, early on in the space missions, there was some calculation about the radiation risk of going to the moon, right? Going to the moon exposes you to a ton of radiation, but most of our astronauts who went to the moon lived to be 70, 80, 90 years old. Why? Because they tended to have healthier lifestyles. They had a lot less health risk, that background level of health risk, right? And the trip to the moon didn't sit on top of that, right? Someday when we have commercial trips to the moon, it might be a whole different story, right? Because the average person who gets on a flight may not have decent lifestyles, right? But and also, right? So, for example, most people, we talk about other kinds of health risks, right? Most people are exposed to a lot less radiation than Mary Curry was, right? But obviously nowadays we also have junk food, fast food. We also have drug habits. We also have sedentary lifestyles, a lot of things that didn't exist in Mary Curry's time. And so any amount of radiation, that might be a fraction of what she was exposed to, sits on top of all of that, right? That's the best analogy I could give, right? The driving, the bad weather, and the cultural. I feel like I've almost been canceled in Phoenix. I don't feel that way here in Taipei. I was at a meetup group in Taipei yesterday, and let me give you an example. I wanted to pull up some art that I had made to show some of the others at the meetup group. Obviously, the internet connection was weak there. It took like a minute or two for the things to load up. If this were in Phoenix, people would go on to a different conversation. They don't have the patience over there. Here, I actually got to show everybody the art. Tonight, I'm going to go to a different meetup group, and I didn't feel so welcomed in Phoenix. And again, does that immediately cause a difficulty? Not necessarily, but it's background stress, right? So the driving, the hot weather, the cancel culture kind of just sits in the background, and then something happens. I can't connect to the internet at work, or my phone doesn't work, or my car breaks down, or any number of day-to-day living events sits atop of all of that mountain of background stress, and it pushes me over the limit, right? That's how I feel, right? These everyday events are still going to happen, but they sit on a very low amount of background stress, and they can be easily tolerated, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.